longer for it to actually go through and start my stream. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling? How's everybody grooving today? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm still on holiday, so it always feels good. It's not. I wasn't feeling 100% yesterday, but my stomach seems to have settled down now. Got no idea what that was about, but probably just some form of stomach bug. Anyway, I know that this isn't what we normally do. I know it's a bit weird, but um I felt wrong because I knew I couldn't do it on a normal day. I couldn't do what I do on a normal day because I'm out for I guess you could call it my like proper family sort of birthday thing. And so I knew I couldn't do it what I would normally do. So instead I was like, well, if I can't do it at my normal time, I don't want there to be things like story elements, even though we're near the end of the game. And we're effectively just going through tiny little parts of the game. I still didn't want any sort of story elements to be missed. And so I thought it wouldn't be right to do it, you know? And I know this isn't also... Look, I can completely acknowledge that any form of person that's interested in... was vaguely interested in my stuff, me doing these streams that aren't not at normal times is a definite demerit. I understand it. I understand it completely. I'm never going to change what I do, though. This is a hobby at the end of the day. If people want to watch me, they can watch me. If they can't, they can't. I know. I didn't even need to bring that up, but I did. Anyway, we've got some time today to sort of talk through stuff, because Disfigure won't take too much of my time. By the way, if you don't know about Disfigure, Vampire Survivor style game, but you get to shoot stuff. There's a load of weapons. Each of the weapons have perks specific to them that you get every, I believe, 10 levels. And this game gets consistent... And I mean consistent blimmin', what's the word? Consistent updates that I just love. This is a sort of mutation system. You get one after every boss. This is a, I guess, fairly new thing in general, but, well, frozen enemies take double damage and will float their XP to deal all 3 times on key spike. No, I don't care about that. But yeah, I love it, and we're just gonna try nightmare difficulty because it means we get access to all the bosses, all the new sort of like bosses they've added to this map. What's interesting that we'll see is I think they've changed what obviously they've changed what the minions look like, and they used to look on this map vaguely like humanoid legs, and now they've gone full on like alien looking things, which I'm not against. I just find it interesting. My favorite thing about this game, well, one of my favorite things about this game is the fact that because of how long I've been playing this game, because I feel like I've been playing this since very early on. In fact, I don't even remember, but I don't think there was even a second map when I first started. But because I've been playing it for so long, I've seen the real-time progression of both the game itself and also the developer, of them just getting better and better at sort of programming mechanics into the game. Take, for example, the weapons. You look at the earlier weapons in this game, and you're like, okay, these make sense. I understand them completely. It's like, oh, this one is a gun that does a lot of damage, but it's slow moving. This is a gun that shoots very fast, but doesn't do a lot of damage. This is a gun that shoots a large amount of bullets, but the bullets themselves don't do much damage, and it's not particularly fast. You know, the generic sort of... I hate using the word generic, but it's the word that... The thing that you would know and everyone would know as being a normal thing. In games. The generic... I use that word again. The normal things you'd see in games. And then you'd see after that, you started seeing them progress from the normal weapons to their own sort of unique takes. So there'll be ones where it's like, oh, this one has... Well, take the weapon I'm using right now. For example, cone view. Is this all the cone view ones? Yes, we can get rid of that. Take the one I'm using now, for example. It's like, it doesn't have the best rate of fire. It's got decent damage, but the biggest thing is it's always piercing. It's like you have the piercing ability, which normally you have to go down the research trees to get, but you have that base. And so they started using that more and more and more. Which was interesting. And then you look at the later stuff, and you start seeing, oh, now they're messing with the cone view thing, so that actually it sometimes is used for something else. So, for example, there is a weapon that is you're dual wielding, and the way that they do that, instead of what you'd normally expect, which, at least in my head, what you'd normally expect, which is they would just have it shooting many bullets out of both of the guns, and you keep the cone view as normal. Instead, what they do is you just don't have a cone view, and instead of having a cone view, when you would normally click the button for the cone view, it shoots the other gun, and you're less accurate, and you've got knockback, so you're moving further back when you're doing it. Which is a really interesting way of doing it. And so seeing all of that kind of interesting sort of, I guess, journey that you're part of, that I'm part of, has been really fun to see. Which one of these do we want? Probably this one. Let's pick this up. And so yeah, seeing that, and then also like enemy sort of like AI and like what they can do, mechanics and stuff. So originally when this game came out, if I can speak, the designs were a lot more simple, them being effectively like sort of outlines of characters, which they sort of still keep that idea going. But they were very, very simple designs. Like there wouldn't be like the hairs on that one enemy we just saw, or the mass amounts of tentacles. They would just be like sort of like vague shadows. Like if you were like, your vision wasn't the best and you didn't have your glasses on or something, and you were like in the middle of the night looking at something, it'd be kind of that aesthetic. Where you're like, you kind of have to, your mind has to figure out what they're trying to represent. I don't think we're doing a lot of kill with single slots though. But we'll pick it. And then as time has gone, they've sort of replaced them with more intricate designs, you know, like the more like yeah, more intricate designs. Like you could see more of what the character is. You can see they're not like an amorphous blob anymore. I don't think this one's feasible. And so yeah, you saw the progression, and then you started to see other stuff. So like when it started, mechanics wise, only thing the enemies did was that they shot at you like this with the red projectiles, and they walked towards you. So early enemies would just walk towards you, and then later on you'd get more and more elites that are shooting at you. And so it becomes harder and harder to dodge, right? But after a certain point, they got to a point where they wanted to make the bosses feel a bit more unique, because a lot of them were effectively just damage sponges. They just sat there following you around. Occasionally they shoot a projectile or two, but not that many. You know, it wasn't a huge deal. But then they decided to add what you can see right now, which is these things on the ground that very much like a MMORPG or something. Like you have to get out of the range before it fills up, and it does its attack. This is huge. Like this made this game feel a lot more dynamic. It felt like it was actually became a lot harder to dodge stuff, which was good. It meant that potentially you could lower the health of some things on like lower difficulties and stuff, because the difficulty stopped becoming can you survive for a long period of time, and instead became can you survive the projectiles it's doing long enough to kill it. Which sounds similar, but it meant that like the fights could be shorter but just more difficult, and the difficulty didn't come with time. And recently, as in like this patch, one of the things that they've added is a lot more complex versions of the mechanic you're seeing here of just the thing being put on the ground. For one, there's a lot more ones that actually move. They're moving things from the floor. So, like for example, every attack this one does, it's moving in some capacity. Before it used to be they choose an area, they put a I'm going to attack here in like 3 to 4 seconds thing on the ground. Ah, damn it. And then that would be it. That would be the that would be it. That would all. It would be hitting there. It wouldn't move at all. That would be it. And so you just move out the way, and then that was all the boss fight really was. Uh, I like bullet damage over time. But recently, you now have ones that actively move either at like a fixed in a fixed way, such as the ones that just sort of turn clockwise, or in like a sort of way in which they follow you, or like a bullets. For example, those bullets weren't part of the equation before when it came to attacks. It would just be sort of lines or circles on the ground, and that would be it. But now they've got it where it's also bullets, which are, in my opinion, a lot more like weirder to predict, because it's not like I can just avoid that location. Sometimes I'm like, well, I should go through that area, even though it's going to be attacked. It's not going to attack at that moment, and so it's, you know, it's okay to go through. I actually haven't seen these in a while. Let me have a look at these. Shooting an enemy will freeze them for 3 seconds, but damaging frozen enemies unfreezes them. No. Although I like the cone and I like the vision improvement. Shooting enemies increases the damage of your next shot by 30% for each enemy hit. That's probably what we'll go with. Every 5 seconds, shoot a bullet which will temporarily... No. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's an obvious increase in difficulty, and I think it makes the game a lot more dynamic, and I'm a big fan of it. And what I love is that I've been able to see, as I said before, the progress. So like, I saw them try out something new. I've then seen them in the next patch, realizing that that went well, and deciding to increase the frequency in which said thing is happening. Yeah, I'll do this. Why not? It's fun. And then try out something new and sort of repeat the progress. Repeat the cycle. And so, I don't know, it's one of those ones where I think just by the amount of times I come back to this, play for like maybe 10 hours, and then I won't play it for like a month or two. I probably played this game one of, if not the most, this year and probably last year. I'm not sure if I knew about it the year before, because time's weird, and like, it's getting to the point now where I don't know if it's something I've learned this year or if I've learned it last year. Pierce just doesn't feel like it's useful for my character because I already pierce. But yeah, honestly, it's a great game, and whatever this person decides to actually, if they decide that they actually want to make their own game or become part of a studio that's making the game, I feel like I'll be looking into it. Because I think they've got a great attitude to these kinds of things. Tell you what, a Nightmare, I don't mind Nightmare difficulty in terms of like actual, the basic of the game. But goddamn do the bosses feel infinitely harder. Just because you've got, it times the boss health by 3. Bearing in mind this is just compared to, I believe it's just compared to hard mode. So they're already pretty scary. Did I get hit there? Damn, I really thought I didn't get hit then. This is the first time I fought. Okay, right. I didn't have speed there. I was just walking the wrong direction. But I'm liking using this lever action, so I think I'll stick with it for now. But yeah, as I was saying before, these things used to look a bit more alien. And now I guess they still look alien, but they looked more insectoid before. I think they're trying to move away from that kind of stuff, which I don't mind. I like both aesthetics, really. Tell you what happened the other day is that we've got this, one of my friends is really into the Cosmo RPG, more specifically the Stormlight stuff, right? And if you're watching my streams, I believe like 2 weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, we had a look through the lore book because they're really into it. I want to sort of give it a shot, have a look through the stuff. And they really want to try out a game with it, and we've done a one shot with it, and it was fun. It was as I've said many times, I don't think there's been a situation where I haven't had fun being in a TTRPG, but I did sort of leave it feeling like sort of neutral. Like there were fun moments, but I didn't have that feeling that I've had in. Well, I have a lot of the time when I'm into these sort of when we're doing a game where it's like I have this feeling of like I can't wait for the next session. I'm so looking forward to seeing what happens here, or that kind of feeling. Let's try multi-shot. Let's go a bit more of a multi-shot build this time around. So I was. It wasn't like the worst. It wasn't horrendous, but it was like that situation where it's like, I don't know. Anyway, so obviously everybody's really into it, so we're very likely to be doing a campaign of it. Well, not very likely. We are going to do a campaign of it. But it's interesting because it's one of the first times where I actually just don't have an idea for a character. Like normally when it comes to these situations, we decide we're going to do a campaign. I've already got ideas running in my head for characters. Not necessarily like a fully fleshed like backstory and background and everything, but the sort of what I like to call the skeleton of an idea. Like the bones of it, general personality, general personality of the character, general idea of what I want for that character, even in some cases like ideas for progressions for my character. Like ideas like, oh, I want to make this sort of like haughty noble. The sort of character progression probably being that realizing that he's not the center of the universe, he's not got some sort of divine right to rule over everybody. He's just born into a more privileged society, more privileged part of the what's the word I'm looking for? More privileged. Just born into a more privileged lifestyle. Every 3 shots, sure. But I don't have an idea yet, and so I'm probably going to spend some time looking through, just because what a lot of the time it happens when it comes to ideas for my characters is I'll look through the world that either has a guide already made for it, or my friend is making of the world, and just sort of find something that I find interesting and use that as a basis for my character, right? So, for example, maybe a god or religious order that I really, really like, and I'm like, okay, I'll make a character within said order, and then sort of build a character around that. So I'll have to do that at some point, but it normally, because I've looked through the world guide already, because we did a whole stream of it. I've spent at least 2 hours on stream, and if not like maybe an hour or so off stream looking at it. And nothing struck me yet, other than the fact that like there's 2 races in the Stormlight world. There's the humans, and then there's the singers. And I'll be honest, the singers just look so much more awesome than the humans. What are these things? Killing an enemy to increases fire rate. I don't like the debuffs. Well, because like the humans, they're like they're just humans, right? The interesting things come from just from their cultures and stuff, right? But the singers inherently have a like cool sort of gimmick to them in the sense that they can all shift forms. Given certain conditions, they can shift forms into like different, like not like they're turning into a different animal, but like they can become bulkier, gain extra like natural armor depending on the forms, even gain some forms of special abilities, and it's like that sounds absolutely awesome. So whatever I do, I probably will be a singer, but that's sort of it in terms of ideas I've had at the moment. 1 second. But yeah, it's a weird situation to be in. Give me a second, I've just got to check this message. Um, yeah, it's interesting. I've got one of the things in it, because of the campaign or the one shot we tried out, I just have like a really bad impression on like just like a certain part of that world just because of that. And I know it was a specific version of said thing, but it just put like a bad taste in my mouth. So like in the world of Stormlight, there is these things called Spren, which are functionally elementals. They embody either like a physical thing such as like fire, life, water, those kinds of things, rain. But they also embody mental things like anger, like beauty, those sort of things. And so you meet one of those in the one shot without spoiling it. That you see one of those things in the one shot, and it freaking annoyed me so much that I was just like, I just don't think I'm going to deal with these things. I just, it's like as a very sort of, I don't want to spoil anymore because it's the one shot that like they give you as an example, and it's a cool one shot, and I don't want people to be spoiled about it. But needless to say, there's someone there that I didn't like. Shooting an enemy increases the net damage in the next shot. This feels real good against a boss. Or like mini bosses like this. So I'm going to take it. And it means at minimum I probably two-shot everything. Damn it, I saw that thing, but I was hoping that like a ricochet was going to get it with one of the shots, and so I didn't have to care about it. God, even with this buff to damage, it doesn't hugely change that fight. We're never killing something in one shot. This is feasible. I kind of wish I had more light in addition to this, but what can you do? On the flip side, I do the bi-weekly Sunday Dark Heresy thing on Baron Zar's um, channel, and that episode was absolutely was like so fun. I had a ton of fun with it. It was just like there wasn't too much that we actually did, but there was a lot of lore elements that we learnt about that I thought was really really cool. And there was a lot of like character moments and stuff. I always have a weird sort of like relationship with TTRPGs because I love them to death. I love them to death because they're like it's like what if you're playing an RPG, but in addition to playing an RPG, anything you can do whatever you want. Like there's no limit to what you can do. So if you decide you don't particularly like an area, in most games it's like, well, you got to complete it. And if you're playing a TTRPG, it's like, well, you don't have to complete it. You just don't go to that area anymore. So yeah, I absolutely adore them. But like, I always some of my favorite moments are like my favorite moments are never the combat stuff. Like there's very little moments I can think of that are combat related that I was like, this is my favorite. But simultaneously, like I always prefer it because it's always I always like having it there because it's always fun to do. And if I'm in a situation, there have been situations before where I've been like, not been particularly into the story. So the combat has been there to sort of like I guess I get my entertainment from that bit. And the thing is, with a lot of the time with in these situations, it's not that the story is not like interesting or like it's not. It could not. Most of the time, it's not even a group thing. Like the group might be having fun with the story, and I'm like, right, this is. It's not for me, but you know they're having fun with it, and so the combat's always there as sort of like a, well, here's something for you kind of thing, you know. But let's hope of my damage. But it's never like the truly like, im- like my favorite moments. Sorry if I'm rambling a bit today. I'm just not feeling 100%. Mentally. uh, but yeah, it's like it's always that cool crutch where it's like, well, at least I know I'm gonna have fun doing the combat. You know, it's not. It's like McDonald's. Like in this analogy, so like you can go to a fancy restaurant, right? And the fancy restaurant will have a ton of really, really cool food. But there's always just a chance with a fancy restaurant that you just don't like the food they're doing, right? You try like foie gras for the first time and you're like, this is absolutely disgusting, you know? And it just ruins the whole experience. It makes the whole day bad because you're like, well, I tried this thing and I didn't like it, and it cost me like an absolute fortune because I'm at a you know an expensive restaurant that serves this kind of thing. Whereas McDonald's, you're never gonna get, like, it's not gonna be great, but you're never gonna get anything that's like horrendous. It's always going to be a standard that's like, this is okay. Yeah, it's not. It's McDonald's. I didn't expect anything more. You know. I didn't come into here assuming I'm going to be getting fine dining. I came into it expecting to get a burger that's like gone through the bare amounts of cooking. And so that's sort of what I see combat as in CTRPGs. It's like it's the guaranteed. It's always going to be good, but it's always going to be like only good, and it won't get won't get any better than good. Whereas all the sort of story elements are like, they could be Frogwa, and you not like it at all, and it's just horrendous, and you feel like you've wasted a bunch of time. Obviously, not to that level. This is an analogy, but something like that. Or it can be the best meal you've ever had. Like, you have this incredible, like, monkfish or something, and it's like, I don't want to have anything other than this for the rest of my life. It's why I'm always a bit iffy to try any sort of TTRPG that doesn't have combat. Because combat is always that sort of crutch that I like having. We can't pierce, right? I think that's what this one couldn't do. Yeah, it can't pierce. I wish my shrapnel also killed them. Oh, occasionally does. Oh, no, 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 I like this build. Please don't kill me. I should have taken fire rate. I should have taken fire rate. Mark my words, next thing I'm taking is fire rate. Fire rate or another way of doing AoE. Oh, this is good though. But I put the specification that or another form of AoE, and this is another form of AoE. Oh, that was my own fault as well. So, like, yeah, with stuff like Call of Cthulhu, for example, which is more of like investigation, and a lot of the time it's like the things that you're up against. Either, you know, you're in a modern society, you can't just go up to like the local mayor that is definitely evil and go, I think I'm just gonna kill this guy. Because that's not how the world works. The real world works. You just... Not only would you probably get taken down by his security detail that have, you know, actual weapons and training, but also, even if you did it, it's like people aren't going to celebrate you. They're going to be like, that guy's a freaking murderer. Or it's a situation where the person you are actually fighting is freaking Cthulhu or something, you know, like this eldritch abomination who can functionally do whatever he wants and is is impossible to actually damage in any functional way. In fact, merely being in its presence probably means that you're gonna go insane or something. So yeah, I'm always worried about those ones. There's also an inherent thing of like, obviously I like having access to magic being a thing. And being widespread, or at least for the players. I mean, this is pretty cool. This one's less cool. We'll pick this one. If I can get Doombolt, I'll feel real happy. You know what's funny is I got a while back I got a Humble Bundle that was just a bunch of like Vampire Survivor style games. And I played them all and I was like, these are good. Like there's nothing wrong with these. But this is one of the few, this is the one I actually come back to and actively play out of those ones. Whereas the others I played for a bit, was like, cool, I've unlocked 90% of what this game has. The rest of them are locked behind like a doing stuff on the highest difficulty, or you know, doing a very specific thing that'll take ages to do. So I just sort of went, right, cool, I'm done then. What do we want? Do we want damage? I know we didn't go down we went damage last time and we felt like that was a wrong decision. But like, do we want to go damage this time? No, well let's go with what we said we wanted last time. We're not gonna make the same mistake twice. We know it ramps up in like amount of enemies, and having the ability to actually kill them quickly. Especially since basic enemies we still one-shot. And that's the biggest thing. We expect to not one-shot the mini bosses, right? Because we don't need that level of damage. We'd like it if we had that level of damage, but we don't need it. Like, look, that fight, I feel like would have gone a lot differently if we didn't have this fire rate. Also, I wouldn't be able to take this without feeling like I would be feeling guilty at the moment, going like, oh god, I've just picked up a fire rate lowering thing when my fire rate was already pretty bad. But like, it just means that the buff that we got before, we can just think of it as being a lower buff, you know? Now this I feel like might be a trap. This feels like a later game kind of thing to get. So I think what we'll do is we'll hold off on that for now and pick up something like this. We want our vision to effectively cover most of the screen before we pick something like that up. Whereas now I feel like it's like a third of the screen, which is good, but like not good enough. Okay, that's worrying. I took a lot of damage there. Do I pick this up? It lowers my movement speed, but it gives me an extra health. Yeah, let's pick it up. I don't normally like temporary upgrades. Health being an exception, because I don't think of it as a temporary upgrade. But the rest of that tree, it's all like, if you have a shield up and you kill X amount of guys, you get a bonus. But like, as soon as the shield's gone, you lose the bonus. I'm not normally a proponent of those abilities. But I think it changes when you have like 2 health. Ooh, picking this up seems good. This is the first time we've been offered it, and this Oh, they both set us down a path that we quite like. But this is damage. And we are severely lacking damage at the moment. Okay, that is a notable improvement. That's one-shotting stuff and shrapnel. That's what we want. This game's interesting because, like, you want to be buffing your damage, obviously. Oh, that's notable now. I've knocked my fire rate to a notable level. You want to be buffing your damage, obviously, but you also want to be having a form of horde clear. Because if you don't have a form of horde clear, you're just kind of screwed. Because you will just get overwhelmed with enemies that you physically can't kill. And it kind of feels like they alternate. With each of the wave levels, they alternate between heavier enemies, like more health on the regular enemies, and elites being added. And just sheer numbers. So it would go like increased health, increased numbers, increased health, increased numbers, increased health. Just to make sure that you don't focus too much on one of them and can't deal with the other. And I'll be honest, I'm the kind of guy who focuses too much on horde clear normally. I'm very much one of those people that likes to specialize in one thing, focus everything into it, and says screw versatility. A lot of the time, you know, when you in games, there'll always be those characters, especially in strategy kind of games, that like, my deal is, sorry, my eye keeps getting itchy. My deal is that I'm not good at everything. I'm not good at like specifically good at anything, but I'm pretty good at a lot of things. A jack of all trades kind of thing, right? I'm the kind of person that gets rid of that as soon as possible. Or it's definitely my weakest character because I have no idea how to use them. This also increases my bullet damage, and every 4 shots make my bullet damage even better. This technically after a minute is a 10% buff. After 2 minutes is a 20% buff. So I have to wait 3 minutes before this. This is technically good. I think I should do this though. I think fire rate is needed. We have ways of getting increases to our damage, but there's very little fire rate buffs in this game. I think that's what I've realised, is that there's a severe lack of almost every a bit upgrade, especially after a certain point, started having like, if it was weak, like this, it doesn't seem weak, obviously. It's actually, I've built builds around radiation. It's a very good ability. But you notice they've just also tacked on a slight buff to damage. They've done that with a lot of things. Like with this, tiny buff to damage. They like to do that, but what they don't like doing is giving you fire rate. Like in any capacity other than here. Shooting an enemy reveals vision will freeze them. What's this? Killing an enemy increases this. Any kills outside will undo it. Okay, I want that, so I'm going to go this way. I know you'd be like, hold on a second, Jack. You're complaining about fire rate and you just ignored a fire rate upgrade. You'd be correct, but we've technically got a constant fire rate upgrade always on the back burner now. Every minute that goes on, like we're literally just about to get the first instance of that, just like a casual 3%, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, bearing in mind a lot of these debuffs give me like negative 10% normally. But it hopefully adds up to meaning that we don't have to worry about our fire rate too much. Wait 2 seconds before shooting to double the damage. Shooting an enemy will temporarily increase fire rate. Ooh. Ooh, I never miss. But ricochet 6 times. I have to pick that. Because it just fits the build we're doing at the moment. We've now officially made it so it's impossible for us to be surrounded. And I'm pretty confident in that. We just need to be buffing damage now. I think we've got all we need in terms of every buff that we need in that isn't damage. I mean, this is pretty decent. Plus it is bullet damage. I told you we couldn't be surrounded. Yes, look at that. My problem now is that because I want to keep my Doom Bolt on constantly, I actually don't want to be shooting the boss itself. Because it's notably lowering my ability to actually damage. But that's something we can deal with more damage. We just need so much damage that we can kill everything. I don't think this is useful. That's singularity damage. No. Oh, 15%. It gives us more damage. Oh, this. 100% this. Okay, that changes everything. Now if I kill 3 enemies using Ricochet, I just get to shoot again. Okay, I don't know if I'm ready for a boss. Like, I know I'm doing okay, but I don't know if I'm ready for a boss. Oh no. I forgot to specialize into movement speed. It's one of those things where I never normally need it, but then as soon as you're fighting a boss, you realize that movement speed is kind of king. Oh no! What was I supposed to do there? I didn't know I had an extra health. I thought I was screwed. Maybe I shouldn't... Did I get my shield back? Was that the logic? Stop with the attacking. Stop it. Stop with scary attacks like that. I don't know which attack I'm more scared of. Oh god. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. I need to get my confidence in being able to run through those attacks more. Like, being confident that I know I can get through it before it goes off. I don't like the new enemy type. I know those things, they were scary before and they've probably been buffed. Also, it's on Nightmare. Damage an enemy increases damage of each for creators against by 100% of bullet damage. Is that good? I lose more fire rate. Sure. I got him. I actually got him. The world has given me a buff. Maybe this? This feels like it's a bit late to be getting this. And it lowers my movement speed, whereas this doesn't. And also every fourth shot's gonna do a cool attack. So my strategy now is literally never shoot the mini bosses or bosses. Instead, shoot enemies that spawn, who will then ricochet their damage to the main boss. Problem is I can't miss, so they have to appear on my screen, which a lot of the time they don't, because I ricochet and kill everything. As long as I'm at the point where I can kill mini dudes in one attack, then I think we're good. You know, there's an enemy, at least in the first map, that literally effectively checks to see if you've been debuffing your movement speed too much. Because it's so fast that, like, unless you have really good movement speed, or
Pokemon fan game. I'm sure you've seen this
oh, it's gone on over to my next video. Ignore that. I'm looking up Pokemon fan games because they're things I play for fun. And I found a YouTuber that just plays they does videos exclusively about Pokemon fan games, and I'm like, perfect. This person's instantly getting a subscription, so that I can see everything that they do. I think I got a health and then immediately lost it. You can see why I never pick up the if you kill 100 enemies while your shield's up, you're good kind of things. Okay. I need to kill. Ooh. This one, please. I hope it doesn't... Oh, it does count my ricochets. Right, this is not nearly as good as I initially thought, and in fact might have been a debuff. What the heck is this thing? I almost want to just up my lighting level just so that I can see the bosses in better detail. Okay, I need to have a look at this thing. Oh, it's like light domain. Killing an enemy increases... will undo the buff of the previous skill. Okay, so it's never bringing me down to even worse. That's good. As long as it's not an actual debuff. I'm one of those people, by the way, that does absolutely horrendous when it comes to any sort of situation where it's like, hey, you can take this. It will give you X, but it will nerf this. I'm the worst at those kinds of things. Give me straight upgrades. If I can get a straight upgrade that gives me less stuff, but doesn't make... I don't have to think, then I'm going to pick the one that I don't have to think. Okay, we're going to try the gun that I do the best at, just so that I can hopefully show that I am not horrendous at this game. Because I like to think I'm not hugely prideful, but there's limits. But I do have some pride. I heard that they're adding. So I'm really into obviously D&D and other TTRPGs, and I saw that D&D Beyond, the sort of like online version of D&D, is adding like a load of books that are the sort of third party, which I like inherently. I know why they've done that. They're trying to sort of turn themselves into a marketplace, in addition to just being where they send their stuff, which is fair enough. It's always good when the right business decision is also the decision people like. Well, more specifically, the decision that they're going for to make the most money also happens to be the one that people like. It's always good when that happens, because it very rarely does. But one of the things that I kind of was surprised it was just brought up with the rest of the stuff is they're doing a collaboration with arguably their biggest sort of rival in the sort of TTRPG sense. I believe they're the second like highest played TTRPG. They might be third. I know Call of Cthulhu, for example, is quite popular. Okay, I've done horrendous there. We're restarting. It's because I didn't take any damage buffs early on. So they're working with Pathfinder, and specifically, it's quite funny because I was playing through the beginners module of Pathfinder, and then I find out now that they're making the beginners module of Pathfinder, or at least the one that I've seen a lot of people talk about being the one that they played first, into 5e rules. They're doing a 5e rules version of it, which is it's kind of insane. It's like if you just saw an advert that just said, yeah, oh, Coke and Pepsi are working together on this project. Now I know some people will say, I don't know if you know this, that Coke and Pepsi are technically owned by the same company, like the same parent company. It's like, yeah, I did know that. It's a weird world. Still weird to see. I think it's one of those things where D&D, or more specifically Wizards of the Coast, is on this sort of new trend of like just collaborations. Collaborations make easy money, is sort of what they're going for. So like in the Magic the Gathering scene, they're doing so many collaborations with other medias. For example, there's literally a Spider-Man set coming out next. We just came from a Final Fantasy set. They did a Lord of the Rings commander decks, and maybe even a set as well. I forget if it was a set, but like they're properly getting into that. And don't get me wrong, a lot of cool things have come from it. For example, you can play some of your favorite characters from Final Fantasy and Lord of the Rings in Magic the Gathering officially. You know, there's cards made officially for those characters. Reroll. Killing. This tree is never happening. Neither is that tree, but I can't do both of them, sadly. I need increase my vision trees, please. Vision, not that kind of vision. But yeah, it's an insane world we live in, and I'm guessing they're sort of bringing that to D&D as well by bringing in, again, as I said, a lot of third parties, many of which have their sort of like YouTube channels relating to it and stuff. And I do understand that D&D Beyond's one is not the, what's the word? It's not the best experience for the businesses. I see it very similar to what I've heard about Game Pass, for example. Like, I've heard that Xbox Game Pass, if you think your game is going to be successful, you don't put it on the Game Pass. If you're not sure about the success of your game, put it on Game Pass because you know you're guaranteed to make some money from it. Also, I guess if you're literally working with Xbox, you kind of have to as well. But I was actually quite surprised when I learned about that from a business perspective. I guess giving your game out on a subscription service, it just means they're very likely to not actually buy your game. So if you think your game's going to be relatively successful, and especially if your game is not one of those games where you can play it for long periods of time, like a battle royale, for example. Battle royales, I see as being one of those situations where you can put that on the Game Pass and feel perfectly fine because people are going to be playing your game. They're not going to finish like the story of your game and then never want to play it again. They will be playing it for long periods of time. And potentially you're making your money not from the initial game purchase a lot of the time, but from the microtransactions that are actually in the game. You know, the £2 here, £2 there. That it's funny because microtransactions are the big scary thing nowadays. But thinking back, I remember early. I believe it would be even when I was like, when I was maybe in like late primary school, maybe early high school. I remember there being Facebook games that were around that were like called like Farmville or Mob Wars or something, and they were all sort of like energy based, so that you spend like what modern mobile games are now, but all of these would be on Facebook. I don't think that's good. This is good though, and they would all be like they would be riddled with microtransactions. Whether it was like, hey, you've run out of energy to spend on X thing, you can buy energy. You know, you can buy these capsules that give you energy. It's only 500 gems. But this is like, and people are like, yeah, that exists, obviously exists, it's a big thing. But like, I'm talking 16, 17 years ago, back when it wasn't sort of like, it wasn't this boogeyman that people talk about everywhere nowadays. Because it was restricted to, just to these like Facebook games or like your mobile games or something. I feel like I should have gotten hit by that. But I guess it hadn't spawned yet. So in theory, the reason I like this build so much is because, like, even though my damage is not insane on my gun, functionally, I don't think I'll need to attack anything else. I can just focus 100% on shooting the boss, because the other enemies should die by being in my vision, just inherently from the radiation attacks. I don't think this functionally matters, except for it lowers my... Do these... Okay, I need to look at base radiation. It is bullet damage related. So in fact, we don't want to be negatively affecting our bullet damage because that affects our radiation damage. And if we keep buffing our melee, keep buffing our bullet damage, it should get to a point where we can continually do this against bosses. Admittedly, some of like the mini bosses that'll appear, it might be a point with those ones where we can't do it. I'm slightly worried about the fact that it's taking a lot of damage to hurt these things. Let's up that by 30%. Because I do wonder what happens if you take so long that you get to a point where the other bosses would spawn. And whether you even can do that. I assume you can. I see no reason why you couldn't. And it doesn't pause the timer when you're fighting a boss. Oh, oh. My keyboard glitched a bit there. But like, our damage is pretty good. Bearing in mind, I am shooting this dude repeatedly and... Oh no. My health. I stopped shooting. I think we want bullet damage. Because bullet damage over time just means radiation damage over time. And we've run out of radiation buffs. You know? What should we do? This feels like it's the most related to our build. We might want to start taking that light meteor thing that we saw as well. There's an ability that you can get. I believe it's like an end of the line ability that's like you sacrifice 1 health but you up your vision range even more. Like, I think it's like a 40% or something insane. Like, buff to your vision range. You know what I've sort of come to realise, actually looking at a load of, like, fan games that are being made for, like, Pokemon and stuff? This may be useful. But I think maybe just taking this might be better. Is that there is an insanely large amount of people that are really into damage, difficulty, like, mods. Like, I don't mind things being difficult. I guess more so when I'm playing with friends. But when I'm playing on my own, I don't particularly want it to be like a game where I'm like, oh, I've got to restart here. You know, that kind of thing. But there's so many of them when you look at fan games for like Pokemon, for example. And just in general, like, the feeling in sort of modern society now is that there's a lot of games that come out that are like, people call them Souls-like, which I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the time, but games where it's like, one of the selling points is this game is incredibly difficult. And it's not 100%, it's not my thing. What's this thing again? If fire rate down again. You know, no, I need fire rate. I need fire rate. Do I pick this up? It doesn't increase my damage at all. No, we're doing this one. Look at this damage. This feels like I'm doing a lot of damage, even if I'm actually not. Like, I'm realistically doing most of my... You see the green numbers that appear on my screen? It's kind of hard, I know, because I don't stream in the highest quality. But the green numbers... are my radiation damage. And I think that's mostly the damage that's actually doing stuff. This needs a reroll. Is this good? This is probably better. Because it at least lets me go further down that tree. I mean, lowering my movement speed is never going to be a particularly good thing. I might, next level maybe, try and get the... Well, look out at the very least for the one that's just a straight movement speed buff one. I think it also increases XP gain a lot, which, you know, with it being significantly reduced on Nightmare, is something definitely to be looking out for. I'm at the it's really on the sort of like the edge of whether I'm doing acceptable amount of damage here. I'm at that really scary point. Ooh, I didn't think I had one of these. There's instantly recess on the next shot if 5 or more enemies were killed at once. I don't think that'll happen much, but the extra 50% radiation is something that I would just take as a buff. Never mind the other part of it. And I know that if I'm in a situation where I'm getting absolutely surrounded, which feels impossible with this build, if I'm being honest, but if I am at that situation, that could be a get out of jail free card. Jesus. I don't like being here. I don't like being on the edge. I don't like that. I think I'm lowering my damage by not being in vision of that leg. I don't know what the vision is. I want this. For better or for worse, I want that. I'm sure you can see at this point why I really like this game. It's got a really good, simple design that sort of does... You know how, like, in modern like, AAA games, and this is obviously a vastly different sort of kind of game. It's like almost the exact opposite of what I'm playing here in terms of, like, money and time that's put into it. I think I just want the bullet damage from plus 25%, if I'm being honest. The extra, like, filling up my hearts means I get extra 1 health. And then increase movement speed by 30%, which is not bad. This also isn't bad. Enemy spawn rates are never horrendous. How big in this though? Yeah, you know how like AAA games a lot of the time you look at it and you go, look, this looks visually absolutely beautiful, but there's, at least in my head, there's always that thing in the back of it going, okay, you've put a load of effort into these graphics, and these graphics look insane, obviously. We're picking this up. I cannot complain about the graphics, but there is a part of me that's like, if you took like, if this game looked 20% worse, which would still make it a visual masterpiece, it just wouldn't be as insane as it is now. Could you then have put that into like just another department and made it overall, in my opinion, a much better game as a game, you know? And not as like a movie? Which it kind of feels like sometimes with these things. And so, like, with this game, it's like, the graphics, look, they're not the absolute best, obviously, but they're fine. They're good. You know, I know what everything is. I'm not feeling like, oh god, this looks horrendous, or like, there have been times, especially when trying to play older games, where I've been like, I physically can't play this because the visuals are just too jarring to me. You know? It's some of the old sort of PlayStation 1, maybe PlayStation 2 games. Well, no, PlayStation 2 graphics are perfectly fine, but like early PlayStation 1, if I look at like the graphics for those kinds of games, some of them I can't play anymore because I'm just like, this. We've advanced so much that this is like, there are the standard for an indie game, which is, you know, significantly less resources than what they would have had when they were making that game, are just, you know, infinitely better than this. It's not a knock at the person who made that PlayStation 1 game. It's literally just a technological up, like the fact that technologically we have just upgraded since then. Oh, that's cool. It's an attack that, a bullet that also has line attacks coming off of it. Oh, I didn't notice that last time we were here. God, there is a portion of it, like, again, this isn't a knock on anyone, it's just an observation of what I've seen playing games for, like, a long time now. Every time I see an eye with a bunch of tentacles coming out of it, there's a portion of me that goes, come on. I've seen like that a million times, especially in Eldritch stuff. But a lot of Eldritch stuff is like body parts, but like a lot of them. You know? Like, oh, this enemy's got a load of eyes. This enemy's got a load of mouths. It's the default. That's how you do, like, Eldritch. How? Oh, damn, we're doing good on damage on these things. I guess we are scaling thanks to the mutations, maybe? Because the mutations are, you know, the extra 10% damage every minute. Which does feel like that's significantly better than the extra fire rate every 3 seconds, you know? I could pick up this one, but movement speed is kind of not a problem at the moment. I could pick up this one that's... I'm not sure if fire rate is even a problem, really. Functionally. And we'd only be getting it for... We'd probably get 1, 2, 3... It's like 4 instances of it, so it's upping our fire rate by... It's 12%. It's not huge. I think I'm going to pick this up. And I might come... This might just be a straight debuff. But my thinking is more enemies, more XP. which means that we can level up faster, which means we can get stronger faster, which in plus the movement speed buff is just good. We picked this up 100% because we had an empty health bar anyway. Also, I can actually see what that creature is now. Oh, look at this vision. This is the kind of vision you want. And the kind of speed you want. It's like we're playing a different game. You know how, like, in games like Diablo or something, you get to a certain point in the game and you're going through maybe like an early level area, and just because you have to for like a side quest or something, and you're noticing that you just absolutely demolish everything in your way. I might pick this up even though we're not standing still, an extra 20% bullet damage just seems insane. Every second while you're shooting, increase fire rate by 10%, but movement speed decreased by... Nope. Blaze activates every 3 shots. I mean, we haven't put anything into Blaze. I think we're picking this up. We do 300 damage on radiation hits. We could stand still. It's not fun, though. It's not fun to just stand still and shoot. But have you noticed that, like, as soon as we stop shooting for like 3 seconds, we're like swarmed? Yeah, so I think this build might be slightly overpowered, and so that's why I can deal with nightmare difficulty using this build. Because it's just using the fastest, like, fire rate weapon you have that doesn't give you a major debuff. And then just taking all the radiation talents and talents where you get increased vision. I could pick up this for even more movement speed. This gives me bullet damage and fire regen though. Fire rate. Let's pick that up. More bullets is more good. Maybe the sentinels can also then... What the heck is that attack? Oh, okay. So it has like an attack with its front. A bunch of attacks from its back. That dude had a lot of health actually. Whereas this enemy loses its side projectiles effectively instantly. Oh, yeah, I forgot that the Sentinels actually have a bullet count that they use instead of a time count. So that actually means that this Sentinel thing is absolutely useless and was definitely a waste of a upgrade. Like, it's a huge waste because it's added 2 more upgrades to my pool. We're never picking these. Enemies outside of any move slower and take... No, that's the reverse of what we want. And yes, there is a build around having a really small vision square. Do you ever get to a point where they just... No, it's just straight up not good. That's funny though. We're re-rolling. Bullet damage is increased by 50% of your movement speed. Yes, please. Holy damn, look at the buff. It actually isn't actually buffing that much. It's a buff to our actual bullet damage though. I'm playing this stupidly risky. To the point where I probably will lose this nightmare thing because of my stupidly risky plays I'm doing here. Because as soon as we fight something like a boss that doesn't die instantly to my bullet barrage, and I actually have to dodge something, I probably am going to lose because of that, because of my laissez-faire attitude. I think I'm using that correctly. What are we dealing with here? Deadly ricochet gives me bullet damage. That's funny though. No, we'll pick the good button. I don't like this enemy. It runs at you pretty fast and does really weird attacks. Oh, it sends 2 of them out. I don't like that. It's like, oh god, it was like a hand. Wait, was that literally a hand, but it's not crawling using the hand part? It's looking at you through the joint part of your hand? Holy damn, I've been shooting this for 3 seconds and the bar didn't move. What the heck is this attack? Okay, 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 okay. Okay, that's the easiest attack to dodge, eh? What the heck? What the heck is this enemy? Oh, how did it get me? No. No, no, stop that attack. That attack's the scariest attack for me. That one gets scary if I'm too close. But I don't think I'm going to get too close. I think if I get rid of one of these claws, it limits their attack damage by a bit. But I don't think it gets rid of the attack I'm really, really scared of. I don't think it gets rid of any of the attacks that I'm actually scared of. In fact, it might actually get rid of the attacks I'm the least... Like, I'm the most confident in dodging. Okay, okay, okay. Even with my movement speed as it is, I'm not fast enough to actually dodge those attacks. No. I didn't know what to do there. I didn't know what to do. What a shame. So yeah, minigun's insane. Don't think there's anything that gets to that level of fire rate, actually. Knife's pretty close. Ooh, they're pretty close as well, probably when you're dual wielding them. I'll tell you what, let me show off some of the melee weapons. Because they're interesting. I actually think I'm significantly worse against these things with a melee weapon. So they only do this, they do like a little slash. With some of the other weapons, it's like significantly slower than this. But it means you got to get pretty close to the enemy to actually do any damage to them. Which kind of defeats my strategy of getting really close. Like against the boss here, I don't know what you're supposed to do. When he does that attack where he does a load of quick projectiles, I guess you just gotta learn to dodge in the ways that the areas he's not doing, and that sounds horrendous. How does ricochet work? Again? Oh yeah, that. Yeah, all of the horde clear things work a bit differently because you're using this kind of weapon, so again, they also have obviously lesser range because you're using a melee weapon. You know what? We probably should pick radiation because we've got the movements, we've got the fire rate that means that you can. Do we do this? Maybe. I think maybe I should have gone that for my chain weapon, actually. My minigun. But I thought it was like the most powerful I physically could be at that point. In fact, I'm pretty sure I was the most powerful I physically could be at that point. I don't think there was much I would have changed in that fight other than maybe not having that clone guy there, and that's it. You see what I mean? Melee weapons, I feel like, are made for much better combatants than me. Because I can't dodge that blimmin' slow projectile that he sends out. Yeah, maybe it's not actually a slow projectile, but you know what I mean. This is the newest thing that they added in the latest patch. It's this... I guess the things that go around you, but instead of like a lot of games where it's just they're going around you and they do damage when they hit somebody kind of thing, they also explode. I like to get increased melee width on these weapons almost instantly, because a lot of the enemies, I'm not 100% sure where the hitbox starts and ends. So as you've seen with the upgrades that you get, it's one specific to the weapon you're using. This is on the first level. There's one specific to the weapon you're using, and then two that are kind of generic. When you get to like the second level of upgrades, the ones that you get at level 20, they actually then just at that point just all become unique to the weapon. I really like it because it does mean that like the weapon you're not just using a weapon for what it is. You're using it for also the upgrades that you can get to the weapon, which also mean you can try new styles. Some of them literally, as you saw with the minigun, it was like, hey, it activates Blaze. So if you were going Blaze already, and you already had a build that was around that, you'd be like, oh, that's perfect. So maybe then you start building towards, this is going to be my fire build. I'm going to pick that because I'm using the minigun. I don't know, it changes stuff around. I really like it. We don't want damage. Space, having a dash is interesting, but I actually just don't think it's that useful. Like, they added like it just adds the spacebar being a dash. But, again, because of maybe the fact I did the hit bar thing, the fact that you can't really... There's a group of enemies, right? And they're here. And they're all here. And I'm here. And there's a guy here. I just go, dodge. Oh, I'm inside of the enemies now. Maybe I have vulnerability for like a couple seconds. But that's it. I'm liking the speed, though. That's going to be a damage killer. That's going to be a boss killer, I mean. Sometimes I wish... Okay. I always forget that that's not... That is also a bullet. You know? Is that weird? I just think of it as like a moving... This is going to deal damage when it hits full thing. Do we want to try the minigun again? Just to see if we can actually get decently far with it. Or do we want to try like Maybe like the highest damage weapon, which is this, and just doing the whole thing with ricochet again. I don't like things that use my cursor because I'm not thinking about that normally when stuff is happening. We can try this. This is the thing I've used the least, the scythe. We can try that out a bit. Why not? And yes, I'm gonna always try it on Nightmare because I actually feel like I make it decently far on Nightmare, so I always want to be trying on that difficulty. I wonder how this works with like ricochet and stuff. I've used this one so little because I don't particularly like its shooting pattern that I've never seen how it works with like other stuff. Like it's one of those ones where the size of your bullet also matters. It inherently has effectively piercing, which is an interesting thing. This isn't good. This is decent. Quick draw's not bad. Feel like you want to be shooting a fair amount of things out with this one. Because the single target damage on this weapon is not great. So I guess the problem with this one is not actually ever horde clear, but is instead single target damage clear. Okay, yeah, I can see the fun of this. I could see myself liking this. Now, shrapnel isn't the best AoE thing for us because shrapnel is sort of more made for like single target high damage attacks, which we won't be doing. I really want to take multi-shot with this as well. I can't believe I didn't get hit by that. That was very surprising. Feasibly, we probably wanted Ricochet, but I don't think Ricochet would really work too much with this. This is probably useful as well. I think shock works with what we're going for here. I think just raw damage. Oh, we gotta try out what Ricochet is. I don't know what it's doing. There's too many like different AoEs going off that I don't actually know what it's doing. Which means that actually me taking that Ricochet was probably a bad idea. Okay, let's see what this does. Bullet size increased by 100% and movement speed. Sure, that seems fun. Oh yeah, that seems real fun. Every time that attack goes off, I think I've taken damage. Because of the sort of shaking on the screen is also similar to when you actually take damage. Killing an enemy temporarily increases fire rate by that. No, I don't like the debuffs to the... This doesn't seem good. Killing 3 enemies will charge an shot with a lightning bolt. I don't like that one either, really. I'd delete that if I could. I can't. Because the lightning bolt sometimes is actually just more of a demerit than the basic attack. Because it doesn't have ricochet, it doesn't have... It can have shrapnel, but it can't take ricochet. So if you've gone heavy into ricochet, it just feels bad. And like it's not going to be doing a lightning spin, it'll just be a bolt, you know? This is never happening. This is the kind of attack that if I saw an enemy doing these kinds of attacks, where like they're doing attacks that go out and then come in, and then they like probably as its later stage start having like it shrapnel into other attacks, and then those attacks also going to where he is, but he's also moving. I feel like I would start getting confused on where they're coming from. Like instantly. That's the thing we kind of wanted on minigun run. I don't blame myself for that attack. I don't blame the game either, but I refuse to blame myself. I'm blameless in this thing. I don't know how good this is, unless you're playing melee. That's my go-to on that. And there is definitely like a solid build around of like putting that proximity thing, so you do more damage if they're in the proximity, but you're a heavy melee, so you're always getting close, so you're almost always getting that buff. Combined with you know, the increased damage while they're in your view, because that's again a buff you're always gonna get. Plus movement speed buffs and stuff like that. I can see a build. But it's a build that I can't do because I can't dodge very quickly. Do we go triple shot? We've already gone double shot. It would feel weird to not go triple shot. I mean, just look at that. It's doing decent damage. Because there's so many attacks hitting it over and over again. Although the attacks aren't doing that much. Oh god, why did I think I could dodge that? I should have just double backed on myself. Okay, I may have made a mistake here. But like, the projectiles will be moving slower. I don't think the things on the ground sadly count as projectiles. But hopefully that means I can dodge them a bit easier. Although sometimes actually them being slower has been more of a demerit, because they've just been in the same place, effectively blocking that way from being able to go. Whereas they would have left ages ago normally. Like that, as I was saying. What should we try out? We could try out Sniper. I always wonder if like this is just a better Sniper. Like, size is bigger, bullet damage is like double, fire rate is 0.3 more, and the speed significantly much, and like, I guess it can't pierce enemies, whereas this does pierce, which is something, I guess. But not being able to pierce is not a particularly bad thing, because there are two other ways in which you can do your AoE. One of which is effectively made for you, which is like shrapnel. And it can still ricochet. Like, shrapnel is made for bullet damage. There's no reason to ever not pick it, you know? By the way, in terms of Friday, I don't think it will be at the normal time, but it probably will be at a similar time, would be my guess. It's very wait and see at the moment. Which is not like me, in fairness. I'm normally not like a kind of wait and see kind of guy, but I guess it's different when you're on like the 1 week of holiday you've had in blimmin' ages. Like, this is, unironically, this will be probably the last one I do until Christmas, which I guess is, I guess I'm saying this as if it's abnormal. There's a lot of people that just straight up don't have holidays. Or use them like all first thing, and so they're like, cool, I'm off like for a bunch of 2 week instances in summer and spring. Oh, it's autumn now? I guess I'm not doing anything. It's a shame, because autumn has some great days. Autumn, sort of temperature-wise, is normally my go-to. Summer's too hot. It always is too hot. I think spring also is pretty decent when it comes to that, but obviously, but yeah, I don't know. Autumn's always been my go-to. It also helps. It's one of the reasons is also probably because I'm very much of as I have brought up many times, I acknowledge the fact that I am at least partially susceptible to being to the hipster sort of attitude of stuff. Or like, I guess I shouldn't be using it in, because I am technically using it in a sort of derogatory way there. In actuality, what I mean is like, if there's something that is popular, I do have an inherent bias towards choosing the other thing. Something that I acknowledge that I definitely do. Especially in media. I love me an underdog, but not like an underdog as in like the actual underdog in a movie, but as in like the actual underdog in the story. So like, what I mean, because that probably doesn't make much sense. In a sports film, for example, there's so many instances of somebody where it's like, they're the underdog. They're like the new team that's just been made and they've never won before, like against a star team that always wins, and this is their 5th time in a row that they've won it, and they've got professional players and they're great, but they're mean, and so the the main characters of the story, they're these severe underdogs that nobody believes in. That happens constantly in sports films especially, right? In those situations, there's a part of me that wants to root for the professional team. Just because at the end of the day, they're the actual narrative underdogs if you think about it. Because everyone in the world knows that they're gonna lose because they're not the main character. Okay, I'm really glad I picked up the shrapnel upgrade. I was worried because it had a fire rate debuff to it. But look at that. When 50% of your damage kills the basic enemies, so you can just do that and kill everything. Oh, and I can increase the damage on my projectiles for each one that it hits. Which means it can kill even more and maybe even kill some of the basic elites. I don't know what they're called, but like they're not basic troops. My default is to call them elites. Because of... I don't know which game would have made me think that... come up with the sort of like vernacular of calling stuff elites. Like grunts, elites, and then you got like the bosses. Like instinctively my assumption is that I've got that from we can't... no, we can pierce. Pierce is a thing we can do. But we already pierce. So it's kind of useless. My instinct is to say that that came from a came from Halo. But I don't think it did come from Halo because I assume that they were called that in Halo because of it being vernacular already. I'm hoping that actually having those things on them is useful. But it's really hard to concentrate on keeping my cursor in that direction while also keeping an eye out for enemies getting close to me. Does that make sense? That's why I can't deal with it. Well, I know this has been a short one, but I think I'm going to call it here because we're about 2 minutes away from the 2-hour mark. I will see you at some time Friday. I'll try and keep you updated on about what time that'll be, but it probably will be quite last minute because, as I said, a lot of stuff is up in the air at the moment. I hope you have a good couple of days. I will see you later.